Hello everybody and welcome to Razoyo. I'm Paul Byrne, President of Razoyo, and this video we're going to be talking about Magento Extensions. Namely, we're going to discuss what they are, how much they cost, and where do you get them, and then we'll talk about the disadvantages and when is the appropriate time to use an extension in your Magento web store. So first of all, what is an extension? An extension is basically a plugin or an app. It adds functionality to your web store, and there are a lot of different types of functionality that can be added. One example is front-end things like maybe the way banners display, or a one-page checkout. Or you can change the way that your shipping works. All of these things can be done with extensions that give you more options, more opportunities than you have with, say, the Magento core functionality. So they're like plug-in apps, and some of them, are really kind of front-end based, and then some of them are back-end based. Even to the point of sales tax management, and the way you organize product data. The advantage, or one reason to apply an extension is that they're developed once. And so they apply to many Magento stores, so you kind of get the latest code, probably get more features than you would if you developed one on your own. And so, by sort of spreading out the cost of development over many Magento merchants, then you get a better cost. You really only pay a very small portion of what the cost to develop that extension is. The widely used extensions update frequently. They add new features. You get security updates, and when you're ready to upgrade to the next version of Magento, there's usually a new version of the extension already there waiting for you. How much do they cost? Well, some extensions are free, and you might think, well, if it's free, like how good can it be? But some of those low-cost or free extensions are really, really valuable. They're widely used. Extension developers make them available because they want merchants to try out their stuff. And so they're hoping that you maybe come back and purchase one of their other extensions at a future date. Or sometimes the extensions are very simple, and it's really just a way for advertising for a developer who may not even be selling extensions at all. So often they're free. Low-cost ones are usually ones that are extremely widely used. Some of those might be some of the shipping extensions, shipping overrides, or some of these where the extension may cost $100, $200, sometimes even less than $100. And again, sometimes that's just advertising for the extension developer. They're hoping that you'll come back and buy another one. Sometimes they're just so widely used that it's lucrative for the developer to create an extension that they know that potentially thousands of merchants are going to use on their stores, and so it's an easy decision for them. So just because an extension is free or low cost doesn't mean it's not useful. Another example of a free extension, or why you might see a free extension, is simply external services. So one example of this is Data Feed Watch. Data Feed Watch is a system that manages your feed for Google product listing ads. In Data Feed Watch, they have an extension. They offer it for free, but then they want you to pay for the subscription piece to go along with it. So a lot of external services that you may tie into on Magento, those are done via extensions. Some of the more expensive extensions are the ones that require most maintenance. They're the most complex. Some of these might be an embedded ERP system or drop shipping systems. How do I get Magento extensions? Well, there are a couple of places you can get Magento extensions. The first one is the Magento Connect store. So I think it's magentoconnect.com, or you just go to magento.com and look for Magento extensions, and you can search their vast database. And I think there are literally hundreds, if not thousands, of extensions available. Other extension developers, some of the more famous ones are Unity and Web Shop Apps, and some of those developers actually sell them directly on their site. And so you can go to their website. Sometimes you'll find extensions there that are not necessarily available on the Connect store for a variety of reasons, but you can find them there. Headworks, which has a commonly used reporting extension, literally has probably 100 to 150 extensions available on their site. So they offer a wide variety as well. When you purchase the extension. Most of the extension providers provide you with a file packet that you really, are probably going to need for a developer to install for you. Sometimes you can use the Connect Manager, but a hand install is really kind of the best way on many of these extensions. And oftentimes the developer will charge you a nominal fee, say 50 or 75 US dollars, to install the extension on your behalf in your store. And those installation jobs are relatively good quality. If you're working with a developer like Razoyo, we highly recommend that you go ahead and have the extension installed by your developer and have it tested out. Some of the free extensions that are available directly on the Connect store, you simply go through the Connect Manager in Magento and it will install the extension for you. I would just make a kind of a side note here. There are some security issues with the Connect Manager. So if you have a Magento store and you have not taken measures to kind of lock down your Connect Manager, you should really do that. And you can contact us. That's something that we can help you with if you need to. But the Connect Manager is a great thing. It makes it really easy to install some of these extensions, and it can be an extremely useful tool. But I would just warn you that that is a security vulnerability in Magento. So side note, if you got your Connect Manager, you don't have it locked down, make sure you get a developer like Razoyo to lock it down for you. So what are the advantages and disadvantages of using extensions? The first one is, with the extension, you're really leveraging someone else's work. An extension developer has developed an extension that's useful to a lot of merchants. They've gone through all the problem-solving process. So rather than you having to necessarily plan out exactly what you need, if there's an extension that does what you need, that's great. You should, you should definitely use it if it's going to meet your needs. Very quick implementation. An extension, installs can often be done in minutes if there are no conflicts, and if there are any conflicts to be resolved, then it doesn't really take long to resolve those for your developer, or at least you'll know right away, and maybe you can try another extension that doesn't conflict with with the other extensions you have in your store. They're pretty low cost for the amount of functionality you get, and you can usually get support by the extension developer. And I highly recommend that you take a look at the comments in the Connect store and maybe reviews if you're on the site of a developer looking at extension. Make sure that there's a lot of people using the extension and that they're responsive to requests for information. Some of these extension developers are phenomenal. They provide great service, and even for very complex extensions. And then there are other ones who may or may not support their extensions that well. And so definitely review, find out about the extension developer. Some of the disadvantages of our extension is they can increase resource requirements. So by adding some extensions, you may actually overwhelm your current server configuration and slow down your store. And that's really the last thing you want to happen, because that's going to affect conversion. An extension might not work exactly like you need it to work. So it was developed for a very a general use case, so that it could be used by hundreds, if not thousands, of merchants and be useful to them. But if you're doing something unique on your site, you have some special functionality that you want to implement that's going to be different than everybody else, you're not going to get it through an extension. So think about that. One thing I would add is that as Magento is extensible, meaning you can add extensions to it and you can customize the code in Magento, so are extensions. So many of the extensions are open source and the developers can see what you're doing. That allows us to really identify any conflicts between extensions and to address them. So you may be able to use two extensions together that that out of the box conflict with each other if we can resolve those conflicts. The second thing is that you may be able to take an extension that does almost everything you want and then customize some pieces of it. And we've done quite a bit of that work. That's usually kind of trickier. Some of the developers, if they are encoding or encrypting their extensions in a way that makes it inaccessible for developers, makes it a little harder. Sometimes we actually have to go back and forth to the extension developer until we sort of get what we're looking for. But again, using that extension maybe got you 90% of the way there, and then you just have to pay for the additional customization, and you can still create that unique experience that you're looking for. Thanks again for watching, and I hope you'll enjoy our other videos on our site, YouTube channel, and we're on Vimeo. Thanks very much.